Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back from the OPTC video, and in today's video, we are doing a little bit of a mini showcase on the new treasure map legend that is Koala, and taking her into the Garp's 10-star or 11-star challenges. So, for the first challenge, we are taking on Doffy 1. That was the team. Those are the supports. Let's dive in. Now, as you guys know, Doffy 1's pretty simple. Most people, know, how to get around this. It's not exactly the hardest content in the entire world. But I thought this would be a good time to talk about Koala's positives and negatives, and then we can sort of take a look at the worst generation. As the worst generation is technically the hardest of the Garp challenges if you're not including Doffy 2, Revolution Army 2. But for this particular team, I've sort of just put together an insanely big whale team with a bunch of really, really good supports to just cruise my way through Doffy 1. Doffy 1's been around for 2 years now, so it's not exactly, like I said, it's not exactly the hardest content. But talking about Koala, she is a 5-times captain to fighters, free spirits, and dex characters. She does make strength and quick orbs beneficial to those classes and color, as well as, well, 5 times captain when you have a matching orb, and 4.5 times otherwise. She does give recovery 1.5, so she does get a lot of extra recovery whenever you do eat a meat orb. Which can be detrimental, with the new debuff, when you eat meats, you actually, take damage, and you guys will actually see that when we do the worst generation. But her special is actually a lot better than I originally gave credit for. She does increase your max HP if you are below 40,000, and then heals 30,000 HP, giving you the overheal mechanic as well. Now, she doesn't give overheal as a captain, but as you can see, she does have quite a low HP pool. If you are using something like the Liberal Hind, you're not going to get any HP, but if you use something like the Aura Jackson, you can get upwards of around, just under that 40,000 threshold. But ideally, with her, you actually want to keep yourself below the 40,000, so when you use her special, as you can see there, we can actually increase our max HP by 30%. She also does have a super typing. I don't actually use the super typing in this particular video, as it's kind of, it's pretty niche. All it does is extend your HP by 30%, which is cool. Makes her quite tanky. But because she has the overheal mechanic, she doesn't really need it for these particular events. And some of the characters that I do use, they don't satisfy her super type conditions, as you do need to bring a full free spirit or fighter team to actually get the condition. But for this particular team, because we're using Law, we don't get that condition. But if you really want to, you could easily replace Law. I just brought him because he's a really good attack booster. Just replace him with another free spirit character. They can give you guys an attack boost if you want to actually make the most out of her super typing. But like I said, every time that I've used Koala, even in the treasure map, I haven't really had an opportunity to use it. And that's kind of one of the big downfalls to her. As cool as it is to get all that extra HP, it's kind of not necessary for the character to operate the way she does. Her special is a color affinity booster as well. She does a 2.5 times color affinity if you are above max HP, or above 30,000 HP or something like that. Otherwise, it's 2.25 for free spirits, fighters, and dex-based characters. So, pretty decent special. Unfortunately, it is color affinity, so it is quite niche to only using it when, you actually have color affinity. But because it is for classes as well, it is going to see some play, mainly because free spirits are so damn strong. And as you can see here, utilizing the color affinity, I think that was from a Sabo, not from from the actual Koala unit. But when you do have color affinity, if you use stuff like dual units, like you see on this particular team, it does work really, really nicely. For characters that do color affinity buffs, dual units are always their best friends, because you can just get a lot of access to different color variations, and that way you can actually just maximize that 2.5 times color affinity boost when you are taking on particular pieces of content. So, all in all, I don't think I did give Koala enough credit when she first came out. I did sort of refer to her as being dookie, but I definitely don't think that she is. She does have in her captain ability too that she can rewind special or special reverse by 10 turns. So that's always going to be nice whenever you actually come up against content that is going to do that. That way you don't have to worry about bringing characters with fear. But the downside to her is she does have to compete with something like Verse Ace. But at the same time, if you use her as a captain, you can use something like Ace Sabo. And that way you have a little bit more access to different subs and different team building and stuff like that. So while she does have competition, she is still going to be a really, really good option for free spirit captains, or being put on the free spirit teams as their designated color affinity boost. But she also can remove 10 turns of the healing damage debuff. So the new debuff, well, it's not a new debuff, but she's the first character to actually remove it with her special. She can actually, if you heal, you take damage. She actually removes it by 10 turns, which is great because she's a healing based character, and that way you can just sort of maximize your pinch healing and all that sort of stuff, But look, at the end of the day, she is a treasure map Sugo, and she's not a character that you should really be chasing. Very similar to the Sanji. I don't think she's as good as the Sanji. But all in all, for her first legend, or her first actual legend, it's not exactly the be-all or end-all, I suppose. But we'll see how much play she gets moving forward. It all depends on how prevalent that debuff is going to be, that healing, taking damage debuff, and being able to get like maximal, increase your max HP, as well as being able to get overheal is always going to be nice as a captain as well. She's probably going to see more play than like Luffy Sanji as a captain, just because like the ability to overheal with her is just, it's so much nicer. But that was Doffy 1. There are a few positives and negatives about Koala, but like I said, she's just not a character that you need to chase. But that was Doffy 1, pretty easy content. Let's move on to Worst Generation now, which is actually a little bit harder. Alright, so moving on to Worst Generation now. This is the team, those are the supports. Let's dive in. So we are going to talk about Worst Generation, as the Worst Generation 11-star event is a lot harder than the old 10-star events. If you have the right characters, as you can see here, like we are running a full Sugo team, but if you have the right characters, you can get around it fairly easily. But the thing about this particular challenge is the final stage can be very finicky, as there are 3 different colors. You do get characters blown away, and you do actually get a captain swap. So you want to try and bring a character that's got a quite decent captain ability, especially in your middle right, because you can sort of reload the game, and that way you're guaranteed to get around that. But with this particular team, it actually did it fairly well, and does it fairly nicely, because we have something like Kaido, and we have the burn mechanic of the 6+ Sabo. 6+ Sabo is just like cheat mode for this particular fight, very similar to like Verse Ace, and very similar to Versa Kainu. But the Dex team still like functions the best if you run like double Zoro, and then bring Kaido as a sub, and that way you can actually get around the normal attacks. But this particular team gets around normal attacks only as well. Once we hit stage 3, we come up against Apu, Bonnie, and Beige. This is where things can get a little bit finicky, as with Koala's extra recovery, you take a lot of damage from the meat orbs. So just be mindful of that if you are like trying to hit your perfects, as if you do eat those meat orbs, you actually take something like 10,000 damage with Koala, getting that extra 1.5 recovery. And because you actually get the extra damage from recovery debuff, it actually hurts quite a lot. So just be very, very careful on that particular stage. Once we hit the next stage against your Rogue, this is where we can actually abuse the burn ability of our boy Sabo. Sabo's not only going to apply the burn, but he can actually give us an attack boost and a chain boost for 2 turns. But because we have Kaido's end of turn damage, you can really just single tap here, and like the end of turn damage of Kaido will actually do a lot for us. But you will deal about 1 million damage thanks to Sabo's burn every single turn. Ideally, you want to sort of like try and keep matching orbs here. Remember that Koala actually gives you a 5 times captain, provided you have a matching orb. So it is fairly important that you actually want to try and keep orbs. She does have a lot of good ways of getting matching orbs, and for this particular team, the only orbs that are unfavorable for most of our units are the Psi and the Int based orbs. If you're running something like the Aura Jackson, you can get recovery and T&D quite easily. With our Sabo, 6+ Sabo, he can make it matching for fighters and free spirits as well. But once we move on to Zoro and Killer, now they have 4 turns of threshold. We can't rotate orbs here, and they do like end of turn damage. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch with our Sanji and Pudding. That way they give themselves a matching orb. We can use their special here to give ourselves color affinity to our fighters and our cerebral characters, and that way we can get a defense down with the Nami support. Ideally here we just want to take out Zoro, and then with our barrier pen units of Sabo and Law, we can actually do a lot of damage to Killer, and then actually finish him with either the end of turn damage from Kaido or Kaido himself. Now, moving on to the Blackbeard stage, now this is where I got some really, really, really bad RNG. Like, when I say I got really bad RNG, I got really, really bad RNG. Ideally here, you can actually take this stage out a lot quicker than what I actually do, but for me, I actually got like a whole bunch of unfavorable orbs. Like, it's so annoying. But to show off the tankiness that Koala can provide, I actually stall on this Blackbeard stage for like 4 turns. On the second turn, or after the second turn, Blackbeard gives you a debuff that lets you not be able to get an orb boost. But thanks to Koala and her overheal mechanic, I can actually just use her special, heal back up 30k. Because we get overheal as well, we can actually just sort of break the orb barrier that Blackbeard puts on our units, namely the ones on the characters that don't have orbs. Because we get Int, because we get Psi, because we get a tandem orb on our Law, it's just so damn frustrating. But like I said, if you want to run the Aura Jackson, that's going to give you a little bit of access to a few more orbs, but you are going to lose a little bit of damage on the characters that aren't free spirit or slashers. So now that we've managed to take out all of the orb barrier, we do have that nasty debuff. Once it hits 2 turns though, we can move on, and as you can see, we even get more bad orbs. It's like, why game, why? But nevertheless, we have the end of turn damage of Kaido as well, and that way we can easily take him out, no issues whatsoever. Once we hit the final stage against the Onigashima trio, they are going to blow away our bottom row. Kaido is immune to that, which is great, but we do lose Sabo, and then they're going to give us a captain swap to our middle row units. Now, ideally, you want that to be Law. You can just reload the game, and Law would be guaranteed to be your captain, and that way you just get a much better attack boost. with lore and the support of Zoro, we can actually get an orb boost, attack boost, and like an extra damage debuff. We can switch into Sanji as well. That way we give ourselves a color affinity against Kid. And then finally we can use the Koala special to give ourselves a color affinity buff. Ideally, if you kill Blackbeard like quickly, you'll have your your Koala ready to go, and that way you can do this a lot quicker. But it all just depends on your orb roll. But as you can see, like Koala's pretty good in terms of like tankiness. She can continuously heal back up. She gives you the overheal. She increases your max HP. So she actually does this fairly well. But decks sort of have like a nice array of subs now that it makes it a lot easier than what it used to be, especially for the deck's color. But that's gonna wrap up. Well, unless you're using Zoro. But that's going to wrap up today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this mini showcase on Koala. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this one, smash that like button for me too. If you are new to the channel, hit the big red subscribe button as well. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Let's